Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we are giving the latest on Tropical Depression Eta, well soon to be once again Tropical Storm Eta as it reemerges over the Caribbean. So to find out more, stay tuned for the whole video and enjoy. If you'd like staying up to date with the latest weather forecasts and updates, then please consider hitting the subscribe button below. Let's see how fast we can get to 2,000 subscribers. Also, to help this video's performance very much, please consider clicking the like button and sharing this video with your friends. Also, please consider watching the whole video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. Alright, so here we have Tropical Depression Eta here, and here it is sitting right over the northern coast of Honduras. And what's pretty interesting is that the storm actually did strengthen, even though it's still technically over land. I'll show you the zoomed in map in a little bit. But it was actually at 30 miles an hour earlier today, and somehow it's at 35. So it did somehow go under some strengthening. Could have been the help of the Central American gyre. Could have been a lot of moisture around it, but it did actually strengthen slightly. It's not very common, but it will take a little while. It may take till noontime Friday for it to become a tropical storm once again, but it's weird that it did strengthen by 5 miles per hour. And this is going to remain a tropical storm as it head towards Cuba, but potentially after Cuba into the southern Gulf, there's always an opportunity that it could redevelop into a hurricane, although the National Hurricane Center right now is projecting a strong tropical storm. And a couple of islands here between Cuba and Jamaica, we do have tropical storm watches issued for you guys. And the wind speed probabilities, like I said, you don't see anything higher than 30 to 40% because we're not quite certain. But the wind field does go up pretty far. It includes Cuba, it includes the Bahamas, and it includes Florida, all those places. And the wind history, again, those Cat 4 hurricane force winds slanted in Nicaragua. Tropical storm force winds we saw in Nicaragua and Honduras. And obviously that got cut off because it's tropical depression for a temporary meantime. And so let's look at the zoomed in version of the map here. And this was actually from 3 p.m. CST. And this particular map was issued at 3 p.m. Central Time, which is basically 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I guess it used to be 5, but I guess with the time change, I guess that puts it at 4 now. But here it is. Here's the storm center indicated by the orange dot. And you can see it is still on land. And it's got to go through, it does have to go through Puerto Cortes before it has to go back over the Caribbean again. So it still does have to go through a bit of land. All right. And it's going to be moving north. And I will show you. So here it is right over Santa Clara in Cuba, 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm, 60 still by 1 p.m. Eastern on November 9th. And then by 1 p.m. Eastern on the 10th, it is now a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm with winds gusting to hurricane force. But remember, of course, we need those sustained winds from hurricane force to be declared a hurricane. But nonetheless, still a very strong storm. And then we don't quite know what happens after that. So key messages. Through Monday morning, there will be heavy rainfall, life-threatening, catastrophic flash flooding over Central America. It's very dangerous there. A lot of water rescue, sadly. And flash flooding, river flooding through Jamaica, through Mexico, the Cayman Islands, western Cuba. And Eta is forecasting, like I was talking about this second part here, this will regain 2 tropical storm and maybe even hurricane status, we'll see, over the northern Caribbean. Remember, the Caribbean is an excellent source for heat content, although it's November, so maybe it's losing a bit of heat content, but still, Caribbean, very good source for tropical development. Increasing impacts wind and rain for the Cayman Islands, Cuba, southern Florida, and the Florida Keys. But the thing is that this storm is going to become a very broad area of low pressure, meaning that the rain field, maybe not so the wind field, but definitely the rain field is going to be huge. All right, like I'll show you on I don't know if the models are going to quite depict it, but I've been seeing a lot of models, and this thing looks huge, even though it's obviously just a broad area of low pressure. But still, nothing to laugh at here. And so again, 35-mile-per-hour winds, pressures up to 1,005 millibars. Obviously, because of tropical depression, the pressure will be a bit higher. And here it is on satellite imagery. All right, so you do sort of see a little bit of spin here. I actually see it in this one right here. Excuse the other one. There is a bit of low-level spin. You can kind of see it. All right, but again, the storm center, at least at 4 Eastern, now it's 7 Eastern, so it's probably over the Caribbean by now. So now it's probably going to start to strengthen, but very messy area nonetheless. And here is the sea surface temperature anomaly. So in case you guys don't know, this is where Eta is reemerging right here. And it's going to be tracking in this area, which actually this is the one part of the Caribbean. Like most of the Caribbean actually does have average water temperatures. This is tracking through the part of the Caribbean that has the warmer than average water temperatures. So that's not very good for people in Cuba because this will be strengthening. Through waters that are 29 Celsius, which is kind of similar waters that it did go through. But obviously, these waters are a bit cooled off because this is where Eta tracked through. But still, we got some waters 29 Celsius, which is like mid to upper 80s. Then after that, still low to mid 80s through the Bahamas and through the southern Gulf of Mexico eventually over time, as the model's projected for now. Now, again, this is the low location as of 2 p.m., so it's a bit behind, but still, it is just now emerging back over the Caribbean. And here are the models. All right, so we've got some model track guidance, and they all agree that it's going to start moving north. They agree on the track for the next 3 days, 2 to 3 days, that it'll be going right over western Cuba. And actually, all the models do agree that this will eventually be ballooning to the west, all right, over the eastern Gulf, maybe even over Florida. All right, they don't say the strength, but the track they do definitely agree on, and that's very good job by the models there. All right, now here's a GEFS model tracks, and it gets a bit messier. All right, like a summer still taking you back over the Pacific, which is kind of weird considering it's back over the Caribbean already. All right, now still tracking through Cuba, and most models do have a general idea. I like draw the cone like this. Some bring it here, some bring it here, but there is a general agreement in the models that they all bring it close to, if not over Florida, and the black line is just an average of all those. So basically, would be a strong tropical storm, maybe even a weak Category 1 hurricane. Still not out of the question for this time of year. All right. Here is the GEPS model tracks, and they say the same thing, right? Bring it right over here. Definitely, I see the cone that I drew here. Definitely, we're definitely seeing an agreement in the models, and that's always good news. But they can always start disagreeing, so keep that in mind. All right, but definitely a tropical storm, and actually a few actually do bring it up the east coast, the southeast coast. All right, and I hate to say it, but I won't be a spoiler, so watch the end of the video to find this out. But I won't spoil it, but one model, I'm going to be showing you the GFS, the HWRF, and the European, but one of these models actually does project another New Orleans landfall right now. But I won't say which one it is. Just stick to the end to find out. All right, so we got the model intensity guidance here, and they do make it a tropical storm. Like I said, most models, it's probably like mid to high level, so like close to Cat 1 hurricane, but I don't see any models making a Cat 1 hurricane as of now. Most bring it to like 65 mile an hour tropical storm, which is what the National Hurricane Center is saying. So it's nice to see that these models are agreeing with the NHC as well. Now, this is the GFS model. All right, kind of like saying the ship's diagnostics message can tell us like the shear and all that, which tells us, can the storm get its development going? Wind shear will be going up over the next 3 days as it gets closer to Cuba, so keep that in mind. We got, wind shear starting to push 30 knots. And this is what it said, I think, when Eta was coming on shore of Nicaragua. It might have been for Zeta, actually, but they was calling for wind shear at this similar level and never turned out to be this high. So it may not get to 30 knots. But for this time of year, November, we start to see a bit more dry air climatologically. We start to see the waters cool off a bit more. The shear goes up a bit more. We're gradually shifting into winter where conditions become completely unfavorable. We're starting to shift a little bit. So maybe this bit higher shear might suppress it to tropical storm status. We'll see. All right, but sea surface temperatures are still pretty warm, 29, right, sitting around 29. Then passing into the Gulf of Mexico, probably around 27 to 28. So like I said, that's your lower 80s. And then we got the storm speed, how fast it is moving. Probably, like I said, does the jet stream come in and really grab this storm? Because without the jet stream to pull it away, or a disturbance to pull it away, this is just going to sit there, and it's going to be a disaster for Florida as well. Now, storm speed looks like 8 or so miles an hour, maybe get closer to 11 or 12 miles an hour. But look at this. Over the next 5 to 7 days, at a couple of points, the storm just stops completely. All right, so that's not good news either. And heat content will be getting high once again. Look at this, 90s, even like upper 70s to low 90s, which is very high on the heat content scale. All right, that is very high. So, but that's also, notice that when the highest heat content is also when the highest shear is. So the shear, the heat content may strengthen the storm. The shear may tear it apart a bit. We'll see. Now the GFS model. All right, this is the GFS model here. All right, and this does actually track the storm automatically, so like it's pretty much right on the center of your screen the whole time, which is why I like this. Rainfall rates 30 to 42 millimeters an hour, which is like well over an inch an hour actually, so it's very strong. Got your tropical storm, and if I were to zoom out, you would see that the rain is covering a large area. I might actually do that once I show you this loop. But here it comes heavy rain through the Bahamas at this point. even though rain's already starting to impact Florida. All right, this will be checking eventually towards Florida as well. Monday morning on the 9th, there it is, checking right through Miami Homestead, and then just sits there over the Gulf and does nothing. I mean, well, except weaken a little bit and dump rain over the eastern Gulf and western Florida. Now, if this were to play out exactly as the GFS is saying right now, Florida would get a bit lucky. You're still going to get a lot of rain, but if this low were to stall maybe over here as opposed to here, this would be a disaster for Florida. We're talking about like over a dozen inches of rainfall plus if this were to stall over Florida. But Florida got lucky maybe in this case, but still a lot of rainfall for Florida and definitely some gusty winds. And the wind strength with the GFS model here, again, pretty much some tropical storm force winds, right? Not too bad right now. All right, around 50-mile-an-hour winds. All right, and this is by 2 a.m. on the 8th. But look what happens when it crosses Cuba and gets into the Bahamas, like that, the Straits of Florida, kind of like that region. Look at this. All of a sudden, it has sustained winds of like 60 to 65 miles an hour. And it does actually gain strength pretty quickly. And then it crosses over Florida and gets to, again, back to around 60 miles an hour. And then it will eventually start weakening a tropical storm and eventually a depression and making landfall in Appalachia Bay as a very weak tropical depression. All right, but GFS was not the model I was talking about, a Gulf Coast landfall. This is not the model. You'll see which one it is. Now, here's a total precipitation so I can show you. Again, Florida, still 2 to 5 inches of rain, still a lot. But look at this. Look at where it dumps all the heavy rain over the Bahamas, 6 to 12 plus. And look where it stalls over the eastern Gulf, 6 to 12 plus as well. But notice, that rainfall is like inches from the Florida coastline. Like that 6 inches might include Tampa as well. But if this were to stall just farther to the east, this would be a disaster for Florida. So keep that in mind. Also, Cuba, 6 to 10 inches of rainfall, which is still a lot of rain. Now, here's the HWRF model. This is a pretty darn good intensity model. I've always liked using it. All right, this is be our subject to for the GEM model today. We'll be using this because I typically like to, include all models and try to rotate. So here's the HWRF model. All right, now at this point, it's approaching Cuba, and it makes the rain look very high def, which I do like a lot. All right, so rainfall rates, GFS were calling for about 30 to 42 millimeters an hour in terms of the rates, but the HWRF, as you can see in certain spots, which they do typically do this, but 55 to 60 millimeters of rain per hour in some spots, and even outside of that, still a very broad 45 to 55 millimeters an hour, which is a lot of rain, like a couple inches an hour. And then it tracks through Cuba, and keep an eye out, strong tropical storm, maybe weak Cat 1, I'll show the wind strength in a minute. And here it goes, hitting Florida, eastern coast of Florida, and then coming out over the Gulf, where it just once again sits there and does nothing. Like this is the 11 a.m. on the 10th. There's the low. It looks a bit disorganized at this point. Like there's nothing to the north of the system. All the rain's down here, so it looks a bit disorganized, probably from some shear. All right, maybe coming in from this direction, pushing all the rain down here. Now, 11 a.m. on Tuesday the 10th. All right, still a lot of time. It could be sitting there after that. Just keep that in mind. This is as far as the HWRF goes for this particular moment. All right, now we're going to show the cyclonic vorticity signature, and then we're going to show the wind. So how strong will the wind be? Now, here is, again, there's a storm. You can see the center right there. You can see these strong bands, which is why I like the HWRF, very high def with this. There's those bands coming out from the eastern side of the system. And then watch as the cyclonic vorticity kind of grows, and the energy just stretches out all over this area. All right, so you got your storm center here, you got your more concentrated area of precip, and you also got these bands that are forming in through Florida. So, guys, hurricane season's not over yet. I mean, I hate to say it, but we still have 25 days. Well, I mean, tomorrow will be 24, but still, more than 3 weeks left of hurricane season, and who knows? Maybe at this rate, I mean, 2020 has been a very, let's just chaotic year for the weather, right? I mean, who knows? Maybe December could have a tropical system. You never know. Although that seems a little bit unlikely, but it's possible. All right, so there's a low center at this point. Getting ready to head off the southwestern coast of Florida. This is around, I believe this is 11 p.m. or so on Monday the 9th. Still a lot of bands and concentrated moisture on the northeast side of that low. So it still looks pretty organized, but once it leaves Florida, we'll see how the strength goes. Then it just sits there over the Gulf and kind of just sits there and just pretty much does nothing. All right, you got some bands forming to the southeast of it, and that's pretty much it. So how strong do the winds, how are the winds going to be with this? Because that's what the HWRF, I'm not saying what this model says goes, but this is a very good it's nice to have another opinion besides the GFS, right? We'll be getting the European model next as well. So here is the HWRF. All right, here we go. So right here, they actually do put it at around 60 to 65 miles an hour. They have the northwest side strengthening a lot. All right, then it passes Cuba. I think this is when it has the opportunity to strengthen, right? Getting around 60 miles an hour again. All right, and then potentially weakening down. But just know that this could get pretty darn close, okay, to hurricane status. Just want you to keep that in mind. All right, so to wrap it up here, I'm sure you guys figured it out now. GFS didn't call for it. HWRF didn't call for it. Yes, European model is the model that's calling for, sorry for the, it's not really a spoiler, but you guys knew anyway. European is the one calling for a Gulf Coast landfall. So there it is over Cuba, Western Cuba. Then instead of going to the Bahamas and crossing over Florida, where it may have a bit of an opportunity to strengthen then weaken, it goes right back, cutting across Cuba and then going right back over the Gulf of Mexico, where that may give it opportunity to strengthen. And there you go. It's over the southern Gulf of Mexico. And then, now good thing is, looks like it does weaken a bit before landfall, but yeah, that's what they said about Zeta too, and look what happened with that. All right, so, all right, there you go. There's your still a very strong TS, weak Cat 1 at landfall, and then boom, the moisture just shot up into the mid-Atlantic. Like, they don't have it stalling at all. They have the jet stream picking this thing up and taking it on out of here. All right, so before we close out here, let's take a look at those 5,000 feet winds and see what the European model is calling for. So there it is, re-emerging. Aha! Now keep in mind, 5,000 feet, yes, the winds are going to be a bit stronger than at the surface, but still, we're picking up hurricane force winds. All right, and that's something to keep on. Maybe at the surface, that can mean like very weak hurricane force winds. That can mean like 70 mile an hour TS winds. But at 5,000 feet, it's a bit stronger. European on this site does not provide surface winds. Otherwise, I'd show it. All right, but still, a borderline hurricane, if not a Cat 1 hurricane as of now. I mean, anytime they call for a moderate tropical storm, before you know it, a system's a Cat 2. So this season, especially when it comes to Caribbean, storms have been strengthening a lot. So this is definitely in the realm of possibility. Stay tuned for updates. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.